What if I told you that your greatest strength, your ability to think, has become your most destructive enemy? What if the very mind you rely on to solve problems is actually creating most of the problems you are trying to solve? And what if the exhausting mental chatter that keeps you awake at night, that replays conversations, that imagines disasters that never happen, is not actually you thinking at all, but rather you being thought by a mind that has forgotten how to be still? Picture this. You are lying in bed at 3 in the morning. Your body is exhausted, begging for sleep, but your mind refuses to cooperate. It is running through tomorrow's meeting for the 100th time. It is replaying that awkward thing you said at dinner 5 years ago. It is constructing elaborate scenarios of everything that could possibly go wrong in your life. You watch the clock change from 3 to 4 to 5, and you realize with growing despair that you cannot turn it off. You cannot make it stop. Your own mind has become a prison you cannot escape. Or maybe you recognize this. You are sitting with someone you love, someone who is sharing something meaningful with you, and you realize you have not heard a single word they said. Your body is present, but your mind is somewhere else entirely, lost in a maze of worries and plans and regrets that seem more real to you than the living, breathing human being right in front of you. And you feel a deep shame because you know you are missing your own life, but you do not know how to come back. Or perhaps this is your experience. You finally achieve something you have been working toward for years. The promotion, the relationship, the goal. And instead of feeling the joy you expected, you feel nothing but anxiety about what comes next. Your mind immediately jumps to the next problem, the next challenge, the next thing to worry about. You realize with horror that you have forgotten how to simply be happy. You have forgotten how to rest. If any of this sounds familiar, if you have ever felt like a prisoner in your own head, trapped in an endless loop of thoughts that exhaust you but offer no solutions, then you are not alone. And more importantly, there is a way out. Not through more thinking, not through analyzing your thoughts about your thoughts, but through a radical shift in understanding what you actually are. This is the profound insight that Alan Watts spent his entire life trying to communicate to the Western world. And today we are going to explore exactly what he discovered about the overthinking mind and how you can finally find peace. The phenomenon of overthinking is not new, but it has reached epidemic proportions in our modern age. Studies show that the average person has between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts per day, and the vast majority of these thoughts are repetitive, negative, and completely disconnected from the present moment. We have created a civilization of overthinkers, people who are so lost in their mental constructions that they have forgotten how to simply live. Alan Watts observed this pattern with remarkable clarity. Born in England in 1915, Watts became one of the most influential interpreters of Eastern philosophy for Western audiences. He studied Zen Buddhism, Taoism, and Hindu philosophy, and he had a unique gift for translating these ancient insights into language that modern people could understand. But what made Watts truly special was not just his intellectual understanding. It was his ability to point directly at the experience of being trapped in thought and to show people the door out. Watts understood something that most of us miss entirely. The problem is not that we think too much. The problem is that we have confused thinking with reality. We believe that the voice in our head, the constant narrator commenting on everything, is who we actually are. We have identified so completely with our thoughts that we have forgotten there is something else, something beneath the thoughts, something that is aware of the thinking but is not itself a thought. This is the core insight that can transform everything. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts appear. This is not just a clever philosophical idea. It is a direct pointer to your actual experience right now. If you pay attention, you will notice that thoughts come and go, emotions rise and fall, sensations appear and disappear. But there is something that remains constant through all of this change. There is a witnessing presence, a silent awareness that is always here, always now, always at peace. I want to pause here for a moment because I know that what we are discussing is not just theoretical for you. Right now, you might be recognizing something you have felt your entire life, but never had words for. That sense of being trapped inside your own head. That exhaustion from a mind that never stops. That longing for a peace you remember from childhood but cannot seem to find anymore. When did you first notice that your thinking had become a burden rather than a tool? When did you realize that your mind was no longer serving you, but rather you were serving it? If you feel comfortable, share in the comments your experience with overthinking. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you are not ready to share, that is completely okay. Just know that everything we are exploring here is meant directly for you. Alan Watts developed his understanding through decades of study and direct experience. He saw that Western civilization had become hypnotized by thought. We had created entire systems, educational, economic, social, that rewarded thinking above all else. We trained children from their earliest years to live in their heads, to analyze, to plan, to worry about the future, and regret the past. And in doing so, we had created generations of people who had lost touch with the simple joy of being alive. In today's world, this problem has only intensified. We carry devices in our pockets that feed us endless streams of information, endless reasons to think, endless stimulation for a mind that is already overwhelmed. We have created a culture of productivity that treats rest as laziness and stillness as wasted time. We have forgotten that human beings are not thinking machines, but rather beings who sometimes think. The psychological mechanism behind overthinking is actually quite simple once you see it. The mind evolved to solve problems. It is a survival tool designed to identify threats and plan responses. But in the modern world, where most of our physical survival needs are met, the mind has turned inward. It has begun treating psychological challenges, social situations, self-image, future uncertainties as survival threats. And so it works over time, constantly scanning for danger, constantly trying to solve problems that cannot be solved by thinking. This is what Watts called the tyranny of the thinking mind. The mind believes that if it just thinks hard enough, long enough, cleverly enough, it can solve any problem. But many of the problems we face are not thinking problems. Anxiety about the future cannot be solved by thinking because the future does not exist yet. Regret about the past cannot be solved by thinking because the past is gone. The need for love and connection cannot be solved by thinking because love is not a thought. And so the mind spins and spins, exhausting itself trying to solve problems that require a completely different approach. How do you know if you are caught in this trap? There are clear signs. You find it difficult to fall asleep because your mind will not quiet down. You have trouble being present with people because you are lost in your own mental world. You feel anxious even when nothing is actually wrong. You replay conversations and imagine future scenarios obsessively. You feel disconnected from your body, living primarily in your head. You cannot enjoy achievements because your mind immediately moves to the next worry. If you recognize yourself in these descriptions, you are experiencing what Watts pointed to. So, what is the solution? It is not to fight your thoughts. It is not to try to stop thinking through force of will. That approach only creates more thinking, more struggle, more exhaustion. The solution is something far simpler and far more radical. It is to stop identifying with your thoughts, to recognize that you are the space in which thoughts appear, not the thoughts themselves. To shift from being lost in thought to being aware of thought. This can happen in several practical ways. First, practice watching your thoughts without engaging with them. Simply notice them as they arise, as if you were watching clouds pass through the sky. You do not have to chase them or push them away. Just watch. Second, come back to your senses. Feel your body. Hear the sounds around you. Feel the temperature of the air. This brings you out of the mental world and into the living present. Third, question the thinker. When you notice a thought, ask yourself who is aware of this thought. This simple inquiry can create a gap, a moment of stillness, in which you recognize your true nature as awareness itself. The deeper philosophical implication of Watts's teaching is profound. If you are not your thoughts, then who are you? Watts suggested that your true nature is inseparable from the totality of existence itself. The sense of being a separate self, trapped in a bag of skin, trying to figure out how to survive in a hostile universe, is itself just another thought. When that thought is seen through, what remains is not nothing, but everything. An intimate connection with life itself, a natural flow, a peace that does not depend on circumstances. Here is your challenge for this week. Set aside 10 minutes each day to simply sit and watch your thoughts. Do not try to change them or improve them or quiet them. Just watch. Notice how thoughts arise without your choosing them. Notice how they pass away on their own. Notice that there is something, call it awareness, call it presence, call it whatever you like, that is watching all of this happen. This simple practice, done consistently, can begin to loosen the grip that thinking has on your life. If you have ever felt trapped by your own thoughts and patterns, you are not alone on this journey. This channel is a space where we explore real solutions to the struggles you face every day. By subscribing, you are joining a community of people committed to genuine psychological and spiritual growth. Each week, we break down practical insights from the world's greatest teachers, insights you can use immediately to transform your relationships, overcome your deepest fears, and build the meaningful life you deserve. Subscribe so we can continue this journey together. If something in today's video resonated with you, that is not coincidence. That is recognition. Your mind is ready for a different approach. Hit subscribe and let us discover what is possible when you finally step out of the prison of overthinking. I will be here, every step of the way.